time for dads now. Look, it's all about dads. I don't want you talking about anything but dads, 'cause it's all dads now. It's inside dad.
Oh yeah, we back. We back. Dave.
Oh, I don't want to miss a thing, Abe.
Oh my God, Dave. This is not what we just watched, but I was just informing you. We just viewed Armageddon because we told ourselves that we were going to do a podcast.
That's true. That's how this works.
And this is that. This is Inside Dads. We discuss dad movies. We love dad movies and dads. We're kind of like dad-like, you know, even though we don't have children.
I was saying we should have Tom on because
he's actually a daddy.
Yeah, and he grew like a dad beard, and it's just like, all right, well, we need to get inside of that dad.
Dad needs to get inside
of us. Yeah,
that's right. I'm Abe Epperson. That's David Bell. Welcome to the smoking parlor. I don't know what we call this space.
This
but
is
it's real daddy
the intro. So is this where we give our? I want to jump right into it, but there's more.
Let's just jump right in.
All right, because this is fucking Armageddon. It's a 2.5 hour movie. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, there really is, and I want to go beat by beat through this movie because this movie is unreal.
This movie's dense. Like there was like the credits weren't over, and I was like furiously writing notes because it's just like fuck. There's so much.
There's so much.
Let's
get inside this dad. Yeah, let's just
hold
go.
on. I have a big hot take.
Okay.
I have like broad things to talk about this movie because this is post Titanic, right? And so everybody is trying to make the biggest movie ever made.
Yeah.
Lucas was doing it, and this is. I mean, you could argue correctly that Pearl Harbor was probably Michael Bay's shot at Titanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they still have. What year is this?
This is 98, so this is 1 year after so Titanic.
It feels like there's some residual Titanic. Everything's long.
Yeah.
And I just have some broad thoughts. I have one really hot take about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that hot. Well, you'll see how hot it is. I think this movie could have been so much better without Liv Tyler. I know. She's like the only woman. I know. That's why it's a terrible, terrible take. But hear me out. It's not her fault. It has nothing to do with Liv Tyler.
But it's a perfect amount of space just between
because
like
Liv
a father
Tyler.
and son.
Well, exactly, because Liv Tyler might as well not be in this movie already. She spends. It felt like they got B-roll of her crying in various spots of their NASA set, and then they're like, "You're done, Liv Tyler." She does nothing. All she does is go like, "Oh, I need my dad and my lover to get back." And it's
I mean, there is a love story. There's technically a love story.
That's actually what I'm saying.
Doing something.
So, like, you can keep Liv Tyler, have her be one of the fucking astronauts. You know, what I'm saying is the love story. It felt like they were trying to do Titanic, and they were like, "We need a love story," and I think it ends up being kind of creepy. And the actual love story that has like heart and an emotional anchor is the love between AJ and Harry. It really
Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis.
That shit resonates when they yell "I love you" to each other at the end. I'm like, that shit choked me up. I don't need this other fucking romance that you're trying to cram in. The other romance, it's at best forgettable and at worst kind of creepy. Like, it's kind of creepy when Brillis is like, "You take care of my daughter now. She's your little girl." It's creepy to have a sex scene set to her father's songs where they're doing like cracker sex and Aerosmith is playing. It's creepy and weird.
Well, let's pull out that moment just because, you know, like, I just think it is funny to me that he goes like, "I always thought of you like a son." a son that fucks my daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter fucking son.
It's just like they wanted to cram the romance, and they thought it was too like fruity for two guys to have like this love story between them. But the love story between AJ and Bruce Willis is genuine.
Earned. It has more beats.
Yeah. And so like it's actually, that's the part of this film that's its emotional core, and the film is too embarrassed to admit it.
And you're absolutely right in that, like, a lot of that writing, there's even in screenwriting classes. Were you ever taught the term animal crackers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Animal crackers is like shortcut in screenwriting for a useless scene that does not need to be there.
Yeah. And
the reason is because if you back up, even telescope out, you realize that whole subplot is just it has nothing incidental to the plot. There's nothing in it that hinges anything else.
We wanted a love story. Yeah. And like,
that's
again,
fun.
like, I get it. They want to have women characters. I would argue just like make some of the Oilers women,
Yeah.
But they didn't think they could do that because it's the 90s.
I actually think because of you're absolutely right about, like, they already have a Romeo Juliet thing going with the NASA scientists, and they're like, oh, you're high class and think you're better than us roughnecks. And so it would be good to have like a woman on, or a man, like whatever, just the love is between NASA and the rugged Americanism that is the oil diggers, I guess, is that's what they're called.
I just think they didn't need a love story, and they're trying to four-quadrant this, but there is a better love story. Like, it's actually kind of bold for in the 90s two grown men in a movie to say I love you to each other. Like, that is probably the most subversive thing this movie does. And it was true. Like, you should
don't see a lot of that.
Lean on that. That was the heart. I also think we'll talk more. I mean, you know what? I'll save this for the smoking room. But it's just creepy that they're trying to make Liv Tyler like a sex prize and daughter figure, and it's just like this just feels like.
And she's not a terribly written character. I love how she talks to Harry, and he's anyway. Like there's aspects of her that are like, that's a good performance. She's great type of person. There's a lot of things working.
She's not the problem. It's her character,
But we'll kind of we'll see exactly, like, this might become like our Bay cast, like because it's the most Michael Bay movie that's ever existed. I mean, Rock is probably my personal favorite.
Yeah.
I know some people out there like Transformers because that's made all of his money.
Right.
There's Bad Boys is involved in that conversation. But this is the most Michael Bay ever because it's just peak things happening all the time so fast.
It's everybody's most everything movie. And what I mean is, like, one of Michael Bay's tactics, and I feel like this might go across his films, is that all the actors in this are just being the best baseline version of them, meaning that no one is trying to play something they aren't. Bruce Willis is exactly like Bruce Willis. Owen Wilson is exactly like Owen Wilson.
Right. Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, what their characters do and their occupations and their likes and dislikes are different.
As a director, that's what you're supposed to do. Cast the role, they kind of get it.
It is true with like blockbusters. I think it's a really helpful thing to be like, we need just Owen Wilson to be Owen Wilson, even before everybody knew he was Owen Wilson completely.
Billy Bob Thornton being Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob,
Peter Stormare. I don't think
just
that's actually
being
how
a weird
he is,
little freak.
But he is a weird little freak.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
There is a haunting realization of how many Coen Brothers actors are also Michael Bay actors.
Yeah.
And I love it.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so right. Because I think it's because they kind of do the same thing. They kind of cast the person.
Yeah.
And don't ask them to do a lot.
I mean, the quote I always bring up is Frances McDormand in Transformers, where they asked her, like, why are you in Transformers? And she was like, no one ever asked me to be in a robot movie. everybody asked me to be like a mom or like in an indie film or no one asked me to run from explosions. So like why
I want the
fuck
trauma to be robots. Can the trauma be robots this time?
They're gonna dump money on my house to be in a film that my grandkids and kids will enjoy.
Wonderful
I'll be
answer.
in this. I'll be in this fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this the last act of this movie is like a fire hydrant of just happening. Like every 3 minutes, it's like there's a fight. All right, stop the fight. We have to defuse a bomb. Okay, stop defusing the bomb. We have to rocket jump a tank.
I would argue every fucking moment of this movie, it's just everything is... It's so Michael Bay. There's a part later where Billy Bob's talking to NASA and the camera is zooming around him so fucking fast. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's just having a meeting. It's just a fucking staff meeting.
There's this wonderfully solipsistic kind of view of Michael Bay that I have, which is that he is just a machine for things that he gets distracted very easily, like he's an ADHD kid or something like that. And he's just like, I want that explosion to be happening. Okay, that's enough of that. I need that thing to happen now. And he's just very like authoritative about what he wants to see next, because he just gets bored easily and just says, all right, let's just have a new thing happen. That's how I'll solve this problem.
Did you
He's
notice?
Not wrong, though. It makes the movie feel like you're on a fucking amusement park ride.
Yeah. This is the thing about Michael Bay films. They're very frustrating because I think like he has the right idea about certain things with blockbusters, and then like a woman or a minority is depicted at all, and you're like, that's a fucking shame. Yeah. All the women in NASA are hot in this. Years. All the women, the technicians, and then all the guys are schlubby, sweaty dudes. Like that is NASA is made up of supermodels and sweaty dudes.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's exactly how Michael Bay wants it. And it's what you expect out of that man, I guess, based off the movies he makes.
Let's
get into some specifics, though.
All right. Yeah. Let's get inside this.
I want to ride this. I want to ride this dad movie.
We need to talk about the opening narration by Charlton Heston.
Dude. He's doing like a Rod Serling intro too. He's like, here we see the lush canopy. Its earth.
It's an educational video, which dads fucking love.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking National Geographic documentary on the dinosaurs for like 30 seconds.
Because it lets you know that like if you don't know what meteors are, guys, we'll explain it.
Yep.
You got everything you need to solve this. Is what it's reminding you of.
It ends with Charlton Heston going, it happened before, it will happen again. It's such a dad film line because it's like absolutes.
And then Armageddon title comes up. Yeah. And then it explodes into a million pieces.
Hell yeah.
Just Armageddon. And we got a
baby. Movie.
Yeah, NASA's fixing a satellite, and Billy Bob is like the project manager, I guess. He runs everything on the ground. You
think from this scene that he's a main dad, and he's just a sub dad.
Yeah,
that's
because
how dad
he says things like a buffalo nickel.
I'll give you a buffalo nickel if you calm down just a little bit. He also says, "How you doing there, Haas?" And it's like, Haas? Oh my fucking god, this guy!
My god. It's just a southern wholesome family, man, it seems like.
His entire role throughout the film is he's NASA dad in that it's clear that they watched Apollo 13 and they're like, we need that. We need Ed Harris, where he walks into every room and he goes, I want to know everything about blank in blank minutes. I want to do this in this many times. It's the make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. Guy.
And he's also a little bit tortured. But a lot of people in this movie are tortured. Like they're a little bit tormented by some, not demons of their own, but just like, the job is fucking, this fucking job, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean, this one is like all stakes. Like that's also funny is like no stakes of any movie matters.
Literal weight of the world on his shoulders. Yeah.
And I love that. So what happens is we get an immediate crisis. Some tiny Armageddons hit an astronaut and the space shuttle, fixing the satellite, and it explodes into a million pieces. And Billy Bob he's just barking orders. Wake up 11,000 people.
I want 11,000 people working on this right now. Yeah.
Super cool. We get an astronaut farmer that was a Billy Bob Thornton movie, right?
Maybe, but you're talking about the guy who discovers the meteor.
Yeah.
And Michael Bay is like,
huge.
How can we cram some more misogyny in this film? Like,
oh yeah,
this is like, holy shit! It's a guy who makes the amazing discovery, but oh no, his bitch wife is there. And she's like nagging him, and he's like, "Go get my goddamn phone book."
Get the fuck. He's so angry at her, and she's like,
this?
We didn't need any of it.
What if
it's just an Americana artifact, like tiny little vignettes, very much like Roland Emmerich does, because he has like such a multitude of characters. They just get a simple postcard of their lives.
Right.
I don't know why it's nagging wife. I
well,
guess
I know why, because it's fucking Michael Bay. It's
Michael Bay.
There are two women in this movie who are older women, and they're both like nagging ex-wives. That's it. That's the two like older women represented in this movie.
Right.
It's
and
bleak.
then the other one is hot Liv Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this for the dadness of it, it's job dad versus family dad here, because it's basically this guy making the most important discovery, and his wife is nagging him like, "Come on, come to dinner," and he's and so it's like showing like, look, this chick doesn't know shit. This guy is in his fucking little hobby room making the most important fucking discovery of all time, and he's still nag.
Still got
right,
problems
guys?
like all of us, man.
Just like when you're in your garage doing stuff.
Tinkering and, drinking a beer.
Yeah, you're trying to make
comes
a perpetual
in and she's
motion
like, I got
machine.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stupid. Keith David is a 4-star general.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, DEFCON 3. Because, who did the Armageddons? A man rides his bike in New York City with his dog in a basket. Once again, postcards. It's like, there you go. That's a guy that exists.
What we're about to get is like postcards from like the 20s in like those like weird gas station in the South. I'm saying it's racist. They do like there's like 6 different types of racism all fighting each other in this scene.
Yeah. Vying for power because it's a competition.
There's the guy yelling at the like Polynesian guy saying he's gonna whoop his pineapple eating ass. There's the cabbie and the Asian tourists who are like children.
Cultural
like,
whiplash.
Jesus fucking Christ, stop.
It's just a cultural car wreck. And they all learn that like space exploded on TV. But just then another Armageddon hits them. But actually he's okay and the dog's okay, because that's also something we can't like start a blockbuster with that crazy. Like we can have tragedy, but it has to be at a distance, If we start getting personal, it's like a little too real, right?
Right.
And I love how it just went through the ground.
It's funny because so many dogs die in this movie when you think about it. A lot of dies and babies die in this movie, but yeah.
Right.
This dog is fine.
This dog in particular, because we've met him, he can't die. I also love how there's like physics of asteroids in this movie they differ from situation to situation.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they explode when they hit the ground to the point that it creates like magma and like a mushroom cloud that like takes out streets. Other times they shoot through Earth like a laser, like this one does.
Oh yeah, and even the mushroom clouds don't appear to do as much damage after the fact.
Right,
like later when France explodes, and then you see France again, you're like, that doesn't actually look so bad.
They keep talking about how it's going to have this fallout, but so I guess just the assumption, because some of them are small, some of them are large.
My favorite part when all of the meteors hit New York is they have that cabbie who's just like, yeah, New York's crazy and all that stuff. They cut to him for like 2 frames just with his head out the cab, and he goes, whoa. And it's just such a funny, like, I don't know. It's just a funny cut because they're showing like a 9/11 happen, and then this guy going, whoa.
Yeah. I love everything that's happening on screen at this point. And back at NASA, the astronaut farmer names the meteor, since he found it, Dottie, after his wife.
I have the line somewhere. I want to name her after my wife Dottie. She's a vicious, life-sucking bitch from which there is no escape. A few things. One, did they tell this guy that the meteor is going to hit us? Because I feel like they wouldn't tell him that.
Why would they say that? Yeah. But I mean, maybe he figured it out, you know?
Maybe.
Like he's got a telescope. Maybe he knows how to use it.
And this is like the dark side of the dad humor, right? Because it's wives, am I right? It also feels like
killer.
Yeah, it's like a comic in Playboy or something, because it's also like just kind of like a semi pun-ish joke, you know? Like, I'm going to name it after my wife because she sucks the life out of you. Am I right, fellas? It's like the lowest of the low type of dad humor.
It's bullying dad humor. Yeah, it's exactly what I'd expect, because that's what I think a lot of this they find funny. This is what
Michael Bay,
J.J. Abrams finds funny, by the way.
Oh yeah,
J.J. Abrams.
Oh right, did he write this?
Yeah, he was one of the writers.
I would assume that Michael Bay baited up, you know.
Yeah, for sure, because it doesn't actually feel like that much of J.J. Abrams' work. Like he's not mean like that. Usually.
No, Michael Bay is. This has always been the problem with Michael Bay, is that, I mean, this isn't new observation, that just like his shit is racist and mean and it's misogynist, where it's like it's always almost playful, comedy. And then it's always punching down from anything that isn't a white guy for the most part.
Yeah, that's
for the most part. It feels like he tries to show the skeeziness of everybody. It feels almost like vaguely classist sometimes.
It is vaguely classist sometimes.
Yeah, it just always feels like a mean caricature. Yeah, I would say if everything that isn't like a rich white guy. But like it also plays into like, it's like the darkest of dad appeal. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, because it's very dad, but it's very like mean dad.
Yeah, it's mean spirited, and not all. I would not say that all dad films exhibit it. It's an artifact of Michael Bay, of anything, to always have bully jokes. Although there are borderline bully jokes that we'll mention as they come around. That dad movies do in particular, and one of them is like the role of women in a dad film is like very narrow, right? There's only like 3 iterations.
Oh yeah.
And that is something we need to point to. Michael Bay just chooses the real bad ones.
Yeah, he's like the worst. He's the worst impulses of a dad film. Like he has them all together. Or
he
sometimes
also put
the most
himself
blatant.
in the movie. You see him as a scientist in the background there.
Yeah,
in
course.
This movie, when they're learning that Dottie is the size of Texas, a global killer, the end of mankind. Not even bacteria will survive, is what they say.
We get some good
in 18 days.
We get some good setting up an idea in this scene, because I want to shout out the fact that in the IMDb credits there is not one but 2 actors credited as Dr. Nerd.
That is perfect.
I know, and this is what I mean, where it's like this movie, we don't even have to like exaggerate its tone. Because this scene is basically all these fucking Poindexters at NASA being like, oh, excuse me, but sir, and then Billy Bob's like, I'm the big dick. It's the size of Texas, Mr. President. Everybody loves the manly size, Texas. I beg your pardon, sir, but it's a big ass sky. It's the idea of all these Poindexters are like, well, actually, and he cuts through it all like an awesome dad.
Fucking nerds.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll fucking lay it out for you, Mr. President.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the useful guy who's gonna get it done.
Yeah.
Because I only say shit like this.
Yeah, it's that. It's not liking authority or bureaucracy. We're seeing the start of that.
Exactly. It's antithetical. They find that once again, bureaucracy or having conversations about like how we're communicating about something is not something dads do. They don't do it well. Communication isn't key. Doing stuff is key.
There's only
solving the problem.
Yeah, there's only one fucking like nerd in this that gets respected, and it's Jason Isaacs, and it's
and
like
he's king nerd.
Yeah, because he's fuck nerd.
He is fuck nerd. Yeah, he's a little sexy piece.
I get
He's
the
got a big
vibe,
brain.
like he feels like his own movie. Like I feel like he has like an American Psycho-esque life. Like I feel like he kills people.
Oh yeah, he's definitely kills people and gets away with it because he's so goddamn smart, like a Dexter would. He mentioned he's described his introduction is pretty much. You might want to listen to this guy. He's the smartest guy on the planet.
Yeah,
and then he proceeds to. When they give him the con, he proceeds to take that time to dunk on all the other scientists by saying, "Oh, you're listening to that guy? I went to school with him, Harvard. You may have heard of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he got a C- in astrophysics.
Yeah, there's like this machismo where it's like even the nerds need it, otherwise they're a bunch of fucking betas, being like, actually, Mr. President, and it's just like, fuck those guys."
Right, and
they
that's
can't get it done. They have to. You have to speak like a dude.
And this is one of the things about this movie is because everything's so intertwined. Like he gets away with a lot because he's jumping around. Like that scene actually doesn't even happen. The Oscar Isaac scenes yet.
No,
because
not yet.
We in 12 minutes into the film, we actually get introduced to Bruce Willis. Things are just constantly in motion. That's you've seen a Michael Bay film, so you know.
And what is Bruce Willis up to?
And Bruce Willis is driving golf balls off an oil rig at protesters.
It's the most manly combination of things like they could think of. Like, what does a dad man do?
It's perfect.
Golfing into Greenpeace.
Perfect. I could not that's
with twangy country music.
Playing country music, and when he gets angry and he hears about like something got broke, he throws stuff. He throws his golf club.
Yep.
And
his name
AJ
is Harry. Because men are hairy.
Hairy.
They have hairy parts.
Yeah, and he hates Affleck, who is shaved.
Exactly.
Who's a shaved boy.
Shaved.
And his problem, I love this, by the way. Affleck's problem is on a team of people who do not play by the rules, he doesn't fucking play by the rules, man.
No, he doesn't.
And he is this is like our main relationship, Harry and him.
Yeah,
because it's mostly
Tyler.
It's mostly meteors, asteroid based plot lines, and the only other one other than that is frankly it's just the fact that AJ is like he's fucking his daughter, and we find it out as Bruce Willis finds out
with guile. He uses guile because he like investigates the room, and he's like, you don't apologize this quickly.
It's kind of that's also perfect because it's like placeholder for guile. It's not actually guile. It's he like smells something. He
smells sex.
It reminds me
I
of that.
Smell
It's
your
always
jizz in this room, AJ.
It reminds me of that It's Always Sunny joke where they're like, what's the best character that when they're designing their movie, and it's a guy who smells crime.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to me that's actually what he's doing is he's like, so what if he like intuited that his daughter's getting fucked by Ben Affleck? What if that happened? Yeah. How does he do that? It's not like he pieces it together with logic or something like that, or things that he's seen in the past. He smells the sex, and he's like, you got a girl over here? There's only one girl on the rig. That means it's my daughter.
It's my hot daughter.
You don't play by the rules, AJ.
Not even my rules.
Yeah, and that's where we get, because it's Willis's way or the highway.
And this is where Michael Bay, I think every Michael Bay movie, and again, this isn't a bad instinct. This is one of his better instincts. He looks at a scene and goes, how can I make this an action scene? And
exactly.
So in this case, Bruce Willis takes out a shotgun with rock salt and begins to hunt Ben Affleck, which is a delightful, again, it's a great offer as an opening where it's like, holy shit, we are moving. And so he's hunting him on this oil rig, something that would be its own movie. While we got like twangy country music, while he's going, put some clothes on to his fucking daughter every time she shows up in the scene.
He's doing his job also because people are coming up to him
he's
like,
doing
what are
job
you doing,
stuff.
Harry? this is happening. He's like, I can't talk right now. I got to shoot my son.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, also want to point out about the coldness of their relationship. Maggie Mayfish, Liv Tyler, doesn't call her dad. She calls him Harry. So yeah, like there's this, that's one of the things that they're going to have to, like, that's classic dad movie already, right? Like your work relationship has disassociated you from family.
This is usually like quirky child.
You need to reach out to your family and accept everyone and do the family stuff and get that at your house in order, so to speak.
Quirky child is usually where this happens, right? Like where they call them by their first name. We love quirky children doing that. But in this case, it's like, he hasn't been the greatest dad, but she's still there. We learn that she works with the suits because they need a dame to tame them, you know?
Because they're too roughneck.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't have a lady driller in this movie. So she works with the suits while they all get their hands dirty. She's wicked smart, you know?
She's wicked smart. She's communicator, just like a woman, man.
Hey, pucker up. We got clients incoming.
We got clients. Yeah. And you're going to have to, multiple languages and stuff. And also Willis has his right-hand man who's played by Will Patton. I believe his name is Chick.
Yeah.
I always just call him young Robert Duvall, though.
Yeah.
And
we meet the whole crew here.
Yeah, what his function is he reminds in the scene, he reminds Willis that Bruce, you promised to take care of Affleck when Affleck's parents died. So he's like an honorable man too. Bruce Willis is that type of daddy.
Yeah,
even though he's going to shoot you.
Will Patton's whole role is to go like, man, this is crazy what you're doing. Like that's most of his role in this. Or like, that son of a bitch. Oh.
And we also, like, the one character detail that we even get from him, or get two, is one that he
He's a deadbeat dad, and we'll get into that. He's a deadbeat
dad himself. Like, that comes as a surprise.
He gets a real quick fix from that.
Yeah. His son doesn't even know that he exists. And he gambles all of his money
Hell
away.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, those two things are, I believe, directly connected.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I think I know
seems
the
like
problem
it's all
with this
wrapped
guy.
up. Yeah.
Like, the thing is, that's not going to go. It's so fast. I mean, jumping ahead, but like, that's not a salesman. That's your daddy. It's like, he's still going to gamble away all the NASA money.
He's going to get millions of dollars. And it's all going.
Yeah, you better put that in a fucking separate account or something, lady, if you get any of that. Yeah, we get Michael Clark.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Even Bruce Willis is such a daddy that even he's like, oh, I'm backing down.
Yeah, he's like, and his name is Bear.
Of course his name is Bear.
His name is Bear.
Because he's like a bear, you see.
Yeah. There's a few names that get thrown in the mix that are like, his name is Rockhound.
Rockhound. Steve Buscemi this is perfect. Like, I don't even want to call it a dad film character, but like a dude film, which is that he is a sex criminal. He's treated like Goofy. He's like a mascot. Like, all the friends have that one guy, that quagmire who does sex crimes.
Who's horny.
We love him. Yeah. And it's like, do we love him? Or maybe he's a big problem.
What crimes does he do again?
He asks multiple times, hey, I didn't know that girl's age. And like, he is. He is.
We don't see him doing that, but multiple times there's a joke that he's
like, when they come for Harry, plane. He's like,
that's right. Yeah, it's fucking so much happens in this movie.
I know.
Anyway, I love this how it resolves, which is that Willis shoots at AJ several times, but the last one, it like ricochets off of something and that hits AJ in the leg, and that's when he stops, because I think Chick says at one point, like, this is getting very real. And I love that because it's like, that's right there is the itemized moment of what makes a dad film that specific brand of vigilanteism. Like
Right.
boys will be boys and boys roughhouse. You just get a little hurt though.
Exactly.
He would never take it farther than that because that would be wrong.
Totally in control.
You know?
Totally in control.
And you have to assume that the vigilante who's not playing by the rules, it knows where that actual line exists, rather than society has determined a line that is frankly needs to be dialed in more. This is the perspective of the daddy film.
The man
and
says
a bad
you
guy,
shouldn't hunt someone with a shotgun.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
he can do it.
But he's gonna do it. He can do it because he's not gonna take it too far. He's just gonna scare him a little. It's fun,
right?
It's and I think that that's just an interesting psychology happening there.
Yeah.
And I love the lines that they just point right out. Like, I like actually how this movie just points right out, like, this is what your problem is. And it's said by Liv Tyler. She says, look, I understand that you're handicapped by natural immaturity, and I forgive you. And then he responds, I may be an immature father, okay, but I'm still your employer. That actually is a really effective line in terms of efficiency. Literally using work as an excuse to control aspects of his life is his fundamental problem.
Right.
And she tells him that she wasn't raised by him, but by a committee of dudes on this rig. Another line was, when I first got my period, Rockhound had to take me into Taipei for Tampax.
And then show me how to use them.
And he's like, I only said, though.
I only
I
told
didn't
her.
show.
I would have more questions because I
would have
be
more
like,
questions.
This guy is a real fucking problem. I can't
We
stress
know
that
things
enough.
about Rockhound.
Yeah. And he continues to be a problem. I would argue he shouldn't be going into space. And then the movie shows that's correct. He shouldn't be going into space.
He's insane. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves because I want to unpack the hell out of that whole.
Oh yeah,
arc.
I have a lot to say about space dementia.
Meanwhile, NASA is workshopping ideas. This is where we get the Jason Isaac scenes.
And I need to point out here, he gives a metaphor or an analogy.
Yes,
he says
his metaphor is a very effective one.
Yes, he about why they can't just put a nuke on the asteroid. They have to drill. And he says basically, like, you light a firecracker in your hand, boom, it's fine. You put it in your closed fist. And he says your wife's going to be opening ketchup bottles the rest of your life. And I just have to point out how dad even this fucking analogy is, because he's talking about a 4th of July fireworks accident, and then your wife's going to be opening your ketchup. Yeah.
Yep. It's a picture. It's an Americana, like modern Norman Rockwell. I think Michael Bay is the most American of us all, to be honest.
And this is like
the best of us.
Jason Isaac's character feels like he's not American in this movie, and he feels like he's like been successfully Americanized. Like he's amongst the Americans speaking their language with fluidly, and that's why he wins. That's why we love him in this,
and that's why he's Billy Bob's guy. Right?
Yeah,
yeah. It's awesome.
I want a whole movie about this guy where he's like talking about bangers and mash, and then Billy Bob has to whip him. And he's just like, no,
like,
God
you don't
damn
bring
it.
up that shit here.
Yeah.
It's potatoes and steak.
Yeah.
So they're like, so basically we need the best drill man in the world because of this analogy that I said that's perfect. And then it cuts to Harry again, who's still, this is still like, we're still kind of reeling back from the AJ crisis, but he runs into another crisis, this is just the bread and butter of a Michael Bay film. Just then something happens. In this case, the oil is leaking, I guess. I don't really know anything about oil.
AJ doesn't shut off number 2 or whatever, and
number 2 is off or whatever.
Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere, but it was just like, and so AJ, we learned that AJ is too impulsive, basically, which is going to be his arc throughout, which doesn't go the way you think, because if someone's too impulsive, you'd think they would become less impulsive. But what we're going to learn is that Bruce Willis just has to trust AJ despite having no good reason to ever doing that.
Even though his hunches, as Bruce Willis mentions throughout the movie,
he's wrong,
threaten lives and cause mistakes. People, and so he fires him. He fires Ben Affleck. He's like, you're fired for the other reason and this reason. And just then the U.S. suddenly arrives, and we're on to this next thing.
Yeah, we hear of him whenever they said this it couldn't be drilled, this guy drilled it about Harry.
Perfect. So goddamn perfect. There's so many lines in this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, basically the worst parts of the Bible is still coming up. God, what a fucking amazing line.
I fucking love it. American needs Harry. It's all explained to him, which has happened. Like this movie, so much has happened in this movie. It's been like 20 minutes or whatever only. It's a 2-hour and 2.5-hour film basically.
Yeah, and this podcast
what's
will be
crazy
the same
to
length.
me is that most of this 20 minutes, even though a lot has happened, because everything just goes by so quick, most of this 20 minutes is people explaining that something is wrong in space.
This is such a top-heavy movie. Like, they don't go into space until the halfway point, which I guess is all right. But my fucking God, there's so much explaining.
It's just so much
much
movie. It's just so much. The density of this film is because of the one Michael Bay hack of movies, which is on to the next thing. Everything is,
go. Everybody
every thought
explains
has
something.
60 seconds, and we move on after that.
Yeah, and they're explained very well. You're like, got it. Okay, got it.
Because it's simple stuff. It's like, okay, so he needs to drill in the thing. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and like famously Ben Affleck questioned this in the commentary of like, wouldn't it be easier to train astronauts to drill? Of course it would. This is a stupid plan. It doesn't matter because we need this movie to happen.
Yeah.
So when they show it, for all this sequence, I have to point out Bruce Willis has nothing but contempt for even the army, because we're showing that doesn't play by his own rules. He always has this smirk like he's a kid at school, where it's like, these fucking pencil necks at NASA and at the army. But there's the reverence too. And so I just want to point out that this movie's going to start,
what they stand for.
Yeah, it's going to start juggling that. And I'm realizing once we get to the larger stuff that there's a fundamental contradiction in dad films a lot of the time, which is like reverence for America and the higher system, but never for authority. It's like that libertarian fucking blood that these dad films have, where it's like these fucking army dudes, even though they're like tough army guys, they're still smirking at them, and it's very funny.
Right. It's perfect. Once again, and what is it? I want to point out. Oh, drilling isn't science; it's an art. You know? And that's why we're going to need to train Steve Buscemi and Michael Clark Duncan to be astronauts. The guys with names like Roadhog or Bareface.
I think at the very least, you could cut this crew in half. Like, you don't need this many of the drillers.
Yeah, you don't need this many people.
You could have them
train.
Owen
Wilson does not need to be there.
No, and the film agrees because it murders him. This is where we get the putting the team together montage, and I just need to note
I love it.
that they're all doing the coolest dad shit. One of them is riding a motorcycle. Another one is getting a tattoo. One of them's gambling.
One is driving a horse.
One of them's riding a fucking horse in the sunset. It's America. They're all doing America stuff.
Tattoos, picking up chicks, losing all their money at craps. America shit.
America shit.
Because that's the other thing about the psychology of the dad movie. You mentioned the word libertarian, and I think that the key there is that I want the right to kind of be a fuck up, like go to hell the way I want to. You know what I mean? Right. That impulse is a very American frontiersman spirit, where it's like, well, live and die on my own graces, like, because hard days work, you know, all these other things that like are around my life and how I run my life. That's just my personal answer to, you know, the blueprint that is life. Right. And so you don't get to tell me what that is. Only I get to tell me what that is.
Of course.
Which is not that wrong of an impulse. It's just funny when you make it a fantasy and just do it over and over again.
Because we're still meeting these characters, so I get why we need this, which is like, we need a quick scene that sums up the kind of person they are. They're all caricatures. It's funny to me because how long would you say it takes before, like, so he fires AJ, the army shows up on the rig, and they say, come with me. And then we see the Billy Bob scene where he's like, everybody's been apologizing to me. I get it. Just tell me what's up. And they tell him, and they convince him. and then they go get the team. And Bruce Willis says these guys scatter once they get off the rig.
Right, like rats.
Yeah. But how long do you
then
think
he
it's
has
been?
to
2
rehire
days?
AJ.
Well, just about 2 days, right? So
probably
in that time, they all did they all went out and scattered and did stuff, and that's fine. In that time, AJ started an oil business. And I'm not sure how.
Had one laying around.
He has an full oil rig assign, and I'm like, really?
It just feels like like he built a house near where oil was, and then he made a rig.
Yeah,
like that's how it feels like.
In 2 days,
he did that.
He left an oil rig. He flew off of an oil rig, got settled, apparently got a loan, got the loan approved, erected and
starts his own
oil business
factory
with
for
a
oil.
sign.
Now, yeah,
and he's like, I've been doing pretty well since you fired me.
Yeah. In terms of screen time, from when AJ was fired to now being approached by Willis, who's like eating crow, and he's like, I want to rehire you. He says there's no job on Earth that I would take with you, which is funny to us because we're like, he's not going to Earth.
It's a dad joke. He recruits him with a dad joke.
He does a dad joke. That's like 6 minutes of screen time. And there was like 18 scenes in there.
Yeah.
There's also no resolution to this scene. It's just kind of like, we still hate each other, but I need you. And it's like, they all have their own wants, I guess, like to get him to apologize or to subjugate him. I guess that stuff's all there. So from a scene work standpoint, it exists. They know why like scenes should happen, but it's just like cuts to, there's no argument that really happens. It just cuts to what's the job then though? Because like we've reached this moment where there's like,
he'll follow
I'm not going to go work with you. I'm not going to apologize. And they're like, all right, well, what's the job?
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, that's kind of
it's implied.
You just rammed right over that.
It's implied that he got the dad joke. He's like, there's not a job on the planet I want you to work with me on. And I think that's how it was written. It's not how Bruce Willis says it.
It's not how Bruce Willis says it.
And so I think the implication is to go like, I wouldn't work with you on this planet. Wink, wink, come with me. Yeah. And then he's like, okay.
Oh, okay.
But
well, that's crazy.
They don't do it correctly.
They don't do it at all. And then we get another boardroom scene where they explain what's happening to the driller team. So this is like 4 times. All the politicians have to know. All the NASA scientists have to figure out. They have to explain it to Bruce Willis. Now Bruce Willis has to explain it to his team.
It's funny to say, I think maybe the J.J. Abrams script wasn't good.
I think it wasn't that good.
Think Michael Bay read it over and he's like, I'll spruce it up. I'll add some racism in there. It'll be great. It'll be great,
I'll
guys.
also simplify things so it's like...
I'll make it real dumb.
What actually matters here? Well, just that, remind everyone that there's a meteor coming,
Right.
Like that's all we have to do. And then everyone immediately has the like, oh God, what are we gonna do? Which everyone's face is locked into this entire movie.
Shit just got real.
Shit just got real.
Now we can do fun and games again.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the movie does.
Yep. They have demands, and I just have to point out the most dad demand ever. None of them want to pay their taxes again, ever.
And that's the last beat. Forever. No taxes forever.
All their demands are dad, like 8-track tapes and shit like that.
Yeah, some of them are kind of funny because bring 8-track tapes back again is kind of like, I love how that's just a stupid, funny joke, like, the guy thinks that the government can control things like that. This
is a great scene. I just have to say, this is a fantastic scene because it's all these schmoes. This is the core of the movie. I'm actually surprised the movie isn't more hinged on this. What if a bunch of schmoes had to save the world? And so it's like, what would you do? And it's like, well, you'd have a bunch of weird demands. And I love how all their demands are really stupid and all these very serious specific people. But then the final demand is like, again, it's very dads hate taxes, but I would argue so do everybody. And so like, it's a very good, like, oh yeah, and no one wants to pay taxes again ever. And you're like, yeah, that's a great demand.
Michael Clark Duncan wants to stay in the White House for a season for months, which I also would ask for that shit. Yeah, I want to make someone. I want my life to be an inconvenience for others.
Yeah.
For just a
I'm
short
saving
amount of time.
the entire world. It's mine now.
I can get to
My world.
inconvenience you for just a little bit of time. And everyone would agree to that. Everyone would.
Yep.
I think so.
We
it's
get
just very funny.
doctor scene after this, which dads hate doctors. And
the montage continues.
yeah.
They're getting trained and they're getting checked out.
It's such a dad interpretation of doctors. It's like, it reminds me of like how people caricature of like what dogs must think the vet's like, where they're like, they're going to stick a big dildo sized probe up your ass for
everything
no
is
reason.
Butts too.
Everything
they get
is
enemas
butts.
and they're drilling into their asses.
Yeah, everything is butts. It's like they're going to tackle your butts. They're going to do all terrible things to your butts.
In your butt.
And then the shrinks are weird, creepy Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Udo Kier plays the shrink, and it's again,
and it's just like
dads hate shrinks, and it's
I want to unpack this from once again the daddy psychological perspective.
Yeah,
because I love that it mainly serves like the psychological evaluations where it cuts between them. We've seen this time and time again. This is like not the only movie that has like this scene with psychological evaluations or dealing with doctors or just interrogations in general. It's like they're smart, they're snarky, they're horny. Markle Clark Duncan cries. It's a wet dream for those guys though, right? Because the stuffy scientists who think they're all that and us, our average Joes, kind of are making fun of the process, right?
Oh yeah, it's all like, look at this pencil neck shit. Look at this bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And then I love that they're like, how all doctors are weird perverts who want your butts and psychiatrists are weird Nazi freaks that are magic. Like that's the implication. They're all like, it's like Brazil. They're in this weird room of this like soundproof spike room.
They're the actual freaks. Yeah. And I think it's because, and the way that like the Michael Bay transcription method works is that is and I think a lot of daddy films too, because a lot of daddy films make fun about this. It's mainly because it threatens their masculinity or element of control, right? Like if they don't have control, like when you go to the doctor, I hate that. So I'm going to make fun of it and like bully it a little bit.
Yeah, we're bullying the things we hate. Yeah.
I don't like it when I don't feel in control or masculine.
My wife takes me to counseling, so I'm going to talk about how the counselors are weird little Nazis who want me to
quote,
do
dudes
things.
Don't do butt stuff is like like that's a very like boomer attitude, right?
Yeah, and it's absolutely the least surprising revelation that Michael Bay thinks shrinks are weird. Like I'm like, yeah, you probably have an aversion to therapists. I get that.
We get William Fichtner, who's training them to be the true spaceman, and he's going to be on the other team, or one of the teams, which is like a mixed crew between the NASA teams and their stuff. And of course, the first thing they do when they get to the training is not actual training. I mean, they are introduced like, hi, this is the Armadillo. It's a tank that drills and stuff like that. These are your spacesuits. They do that stuff. But almost immediately in this montage, it's now about customizing their gear. They're like, we laugh at them because of like passengers and fighter jets and throwing up and like,
well, again, it's
NASA kind of shows off how NASA is like badass.
Yeah, we're doing underdog shit, right? Where he literally says talk about the wrong stuff.
Are literally picking apart the stuff that NASA has created and saying like, you don't need this. What is this? A fucking like this is bullshit. It's just what is this? Pick up poop.
They take
scoop ice cream with this.
They take turns one upping each other or like sassing each other. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, we're going to put you in a plane, make you puke. And then they're like, we're drillers. We're going to do driller shit at you. And it's just machismo back and forth. And you can tell like what they're setting up is we have to win William Fichtner's respect. His like NASA respect. We also meet the Freedom and the Independence, the shuttles. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus Christ.
9/11 hasn't even happened yet. Come on, Michael Bay.
I love that America decided to deal with this situation alone.
I wanted to talk about that in the next section, that America basically hides it all from the world and goes, we'll do it. We'll handle it.
We don't need their resources. But anyway, there's a hot lady teacher, and there's a joke about how Steve Buscemi wants her to kick him in the balls.
Yes.
Which is great.
Because he's a sex freak.
I also like that we keep it simple. We got models of ships and stuff to, keep it real simple. We're going to slingshot around the moon and land on the asteroid is the basic idea. And it's going to be like hell. Sharp rocks. It's going to be too hot, too cold.
Right.
Explosions are everywhere. So it's the worst place ever. And
you pointed out that we're lying to the world. I just have to point out, no one in the world is concerned about the fact that New York was slammed by asteroids.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
I think there's a better part of the sequences where it's like they loudly and clearly are the world would do something at that point.
Right.
But Harry, in this, we kind of get out of that montage of training, and Harry watches his daughter make out with Affleck, which is not weird at all. It's a very hot scene about a daddy watching, but he actually walks away from AJ proposing to Liv Tyler, which is like happens in like a stolen moment.
Yeah.
And then he immediately knows. Well, I guess the assumption is they announced it or something, but
I don't know. He says like
I'll
handle that when we get back, kind of, where it's like, I don't have time for that. I'll kill Ben Affleck or whatever when we get back. This is where all the other guys argue, like, you need to accept that your daughter is hot. Like, that's their argument to him?
Well, not hot, but we helped raise her, so in part we all feel like a bunch of daddies here, and we feel like
we all feel like a bunch of daddies here is an exact line from Michael Clark Duncan.
That's right.
But like Steve Buscemi, a few of them go like, you got to understand, she's totally hot, man. And I'm like, why is that anything he has to understand in this moment?
I think she's real hottie is explaining that's because he's a pervert. But Owen Wilson is more of explaining that, like, you need to let her fly. Like, that he's just doing it very stupidly.
Yes.
So it seems like he doesn't quite get it himself. But, like, that's ultimately his speech. Bruce Willis is like, you're the same age as Liv Tyler, basically. And he's like, yeah, but I just have some experience with, like, the body changes and stuff like that. He's a rambling mess, basically.
Yeah.
But Harry thinks that she deserves better than a fucking roughneck, Yeah. And AJ is that guy, and he doesn't kiss the ring either. So, what the fuck? And then we get to another montage. It's just like we're 48 movies into the movie.
So many fucking montages.
It's just montage after montage.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, we got a
he has a hunch. AJ has a hunch, and he breaks the simulation.
Oh, right.
And Harry has to decide to fire him or not.
We get
hey, you still got time to replace him.
We get our first of 3 Aerosmith songs, because this is like, this is like the graduate for the Aerosmith. It's just like, what the fuck is happening?
AJ keeps trying to be the hero, and Harry feels that NASA's been training him too hard. So your requests for their last night to be a day off, to go be with their families, because he sees the bigger picture here, which I would argue that he doesn't really, but because the biggest picture in the world is the world. So that's weird to me, but he's like, all right, he has a heart, and he understands that they might operate better if they knew what they were saving a little bit more.
And we get this is a good story beat, because this chorus of like roughnecks, we get a couple moments, which is like when we first find them out doing their thing, riding horses and stuff. And this is the second we get another like, okay, where would they go if they thought they might die tomorrow? And
I do like where they go with it. Like Buscemi in particular is like, well, I'm going to gamble. Yeah. I'm going to take out a huge loan because I'm going to assume we're not going to make it. So it doesn't matter, which is wonderfully like nihilistic.
He kind of represents throughout, like, on an artistic level, I guess, he represents the nihilism, the darkness of the situation. He represents the lack of hope.
Yeah. And he's insultingly pragmatic about it. Yeah. And he's also displayed as like too smart. Smarty.
Yeah,
he's a secret smarty.
He's wicked smart. He's underestimated. He's got
in the psychological evaluation, he made the argument. He's like, I got PhDs and shit. Like I'm smarter than you.
He's nihilism.
I get to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
And that I like this job because he's a weird little freak.
And
we get the animal cracker scene.
Yeah, we get 2 fucking Aerosmith sequences here. The animal cracker scene where she's so horny for his Australian Discovery Channel bit.
Right. So the idea of the scene itself it's, and the reason why we've mentioned it several times, and it's kind of like a in joke, kind of like jumping the shark or something like that. The scene itself does not add any stuff that we don't know, which is usually a value of a scene.
Yeah.
Not all scenes have to do that, but that's one of the things that scenes usually should be like in that category of. We already know that they're in love, so we don't need to see that. Also, the text of the scene is literally just like an improv about animal crackers, where Affleck traverses Liv Tyler's body.
This whole scene feels improv.
And she asks, I just want everyone to know what the scene is. She asks if anyone else in the world is doing the exact same thing.
I wrote it down. Do you think it's possible that anyone else is doing the very same thing at this very moment? To which Ben Affleck should answer, what?
What?
You think someone else is doing the animal cracker thing in the world? The fuck is wrong with you? Marriage over. We're not getting married.
What?
You fucking idiot.
What, you fucking weirdo?
Yeah.
This is the most weird thing to happen. But I don't know. But the point is, it also doesn't hinge any other scenes. Like there's no action in the scene, information, anything we learn in this scene that informs any other scene. So that's why this is made fun of.
My theory, this is my theory that this is the I'm Flying's Titanic moment, right? Is that Michael Bay was already well into making the film, I feel like, and Titanic was so big, I feel like someone went to him, or maybe he decided, they're like, we need our own Titanic moment. We need our own Rose at the front of the ship.
Right.
You need to give us something. And he said, okay, let's make a sequence. A haunting sequence set to the tune of the woman's father. I can't stress enough how daddy that is and how haunting and that is. Where it's like her literally being serenaded by her father's voice while she fucks Ben Affleck in a field. It's not right.
It's not a great look.
But I think that's why it's such a useless scene, because I think it was an afterthought where they're like, we better have a romantic sequence that's iconic.
The love story itself has been clipped. It's dead on arrival. There's no fixing a bullet wound with a Band-Aid. And these are Band-Aid
the actual
problems.
They don't realize what the actual love story is.
Right.
Do this with Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis. We'd love it.
Do a love story or don't do
They
a
should
love
have an
story,
animal cracker scene.
Yeah. Anyway, Animal Crackers is what we've decided to call it. And it's a very typically Michael Bay type thing because he doesn't care really about it, which is fine. Just don't include it then. Also, there's a BMW there. I love this scene because I never, ever noticed that BMW like just does not belong there.
It's product placement.
It's so clearly product placement. We get the logo on the wheel on the tire, but it's like sunset scene at a rustic middle of nowhere house. There's a tree and a tire swing, like I said. Like
where the fuck are they?
Norman Rockwell. I don't know. And it's just the cleanest BMW you've ever seen in your life. It's like a car ad. It's fucking hilarious.
It really feels to me like they shot this scene after the fact and they're like, where will it go? And they're like, we'll find it. We'll find a spot. It doesn't matter. It's just such a placeholder. Yeah.
It's been teleported from a different movie. It's fantastic. So... Oh, Will Patton, we get to see, he goes to see his boy and his divorced wife. We mentioned this scene before. And he gets his boy a toy little space shuttle. Like, you'll remember me, kid. And
he says,
the rest of the guys basically
going on.
And the rest of the team basically just party and go to a strip club, which is kind of haunting.
The deadbeat dad fantasy. It's just, it's such a deadbeat dad fantasy of like, all right, I've spent years neglecting and gambling, but I'm going to just do like one thing and then it's all forgiven. And it's amazing. I mean, mind you, that one thing is saving the world. Right. So like, I get it. I get why you might give him another shot after that, but come the fuck on.
Yeah, it doesn't change a goddamn thing about what he still has to apologize for a lot.
Yeah.
And I love that the rest of the guys are at the strip club
listening to Aerosmith.
And there's a biker gang that just doesn't like that they're taking all the action. And so they fight and they all get arrested, which is just hilarious because it's like cut that up against Bruce Willis's previously impassioned speech about like they got to know when to live, like what they're saving. It's like, no, these guys are just fucking horn dogs.
And at this point, I want to note the movie isn't even halfway over.
It's not even halfway over. It's crazy.
Yeah,
this movie. All right, let's speed along.
France gets wiped out.
Yeah, some bigger parts are starting to fall off the night before they head out from the asteroid. And this is where we can mention Southeast Asia gets wiped off the map, and a third, more or less a little over a third of the movie is like transpired, and the world does still not know about Dottie.
Yeah, this is not just Michael Bay, it's also Emmerich. The Americanness of when, like, okay, some meteors hit New York, that's kind of scary. But then when you have to start in the disaster movie, show the rest of the world or show disasters, they're like, what do we destroy? France. No one likes France. They might even cheer, where it's like, take that, France. Right. It's like, okay, let's do all the non-English speaking countries just like running around like Muppets getting murdered. No one gives a shit. They want to see the explosions. It's very much that American centric thing. And then the fact that just America alone is in charge of the entire thing and the whole rest of the world.
Watchdogs of the West.
Yeah,
right?
China got nothing going on, nothing to say. Russia,
they don't even
nothing.
know it. Yeah.
And it's really? They haven't figured this out too? Huh.
They're like, you guys knew about this? This is also a global problem, so like we will give you all of our resources as well.
We could have done where they're going to be like, it's all right, we'll handle it, and China will be like, we have like a whole thing here that can handle it.
Yeah,
like we have better drillers. Like, geez, we have a
we could make other ships and fly. Like, you have 2 redundancies, which we're going to find out is barely enough.
50 redundancies?
We could have 50 of them.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's the world. Not? It's the fate of the fucking world.
Resources are not the problem right now.
Yeah. Like, why are you keeping this secret?
When time is so valuable and you've wasted 8 days, a whole week of not including, or I guess it was even closer, because at this point it's like the next day, so it's like they waste 2 weeks of immensely important clock.
Right. Even though they saved the world, you still think about like maybe France could have been saved if they joined, right. They're going to be like, the world's going to be like, thanks for saving the world. Now we have to have trials about you covering this up because that was fucking nuts and probably cost some lives. Do anything.
And also I think it's just simpler than that, right? They didn't even think about that. And that's what a lot of these things is that are pointing it out. They're like, who cares? And they're actually kind of right about it, but it is funny to, follow me here. I think it's the simplicity of the screenwriters and Michael Bay basically going like, okay, there's an asteroid that hits New York, but that's like in America and we have like control of America, right? But we can't, like, so when Southeast Asia is taken out though, that's not in America. That means the world. So that's when the world can get involved. And like a Russian space station, is now a part of the plan and shit.
Right.
But it's just so funny to me that they're just like, that's not how that works. People across the globe would be able to, journalists exist for this exact purpose. Like, people would know that some crazy shit went down in New York.
They wouldn't stop talking about it. They'd be like, what's the deal with those meteors that fucking hit New York? Maybe we should look into that. And they would They would know
where to look in the sky based off the trajectory of the actual asteroids that were hitting us. It's just, there's so much that have to happen for them to hide this. It's very funny. In any case, I think it's just that little simplicity of like how they're writing the script is kind of, it's almost like childlike and innocent, oh, you sweet summer child.
But like a shitty child, but yeah.
In any case, a shitty, dumb child. In any case, Billy Bob throws in some random backstory about his leg and how he had to adjust to knowing he'd never fly, which only becomes important later as an emotional beat for Bruce Willis.
Yeah, the dial changes to reverence. They, have the Apollo 1 memorial, which I was like, I don't know. I don't know about using that for this movie. I'm sorry.
We just had a scene about getting in a fight about a strip club.
Yeah. I don't need to see Apollo
reverence
1
is what you're looking for. But the movie's saluting. Liv Tyler's scared and hugs Daddy, and they like have a great, nice little scene where it's like, I love you.
Bring back my fiance.
And he's just like, all right, I'm going to bring back my fiance so you can put crackers on your body and I can watch.
I want the version where they get on the asteroid and he cuts a hole in AJ's suit and goes, oh no. And just like immediately assassinates him. Oh no, my dirtbag almost son-in-law is dying.
They finally do their suit up, and this is the famous slow motion for like ever. This movie is for like 10 minutes slow motion.
Oh yeah,
they're heroes. They sing "Leaving on a Jet Plane." The president gives a very long speech.
Sorry, "Leaving on a Jet Plane" stuck with me for a very long time because they don't sing "Leaving on a Jet Plane." Ben Affleck starts "Leaving on a Jet Plane." They get to the first line of the first chorus, and they just keep singing it over and over again, which is very dad because they don't know the lyrics.
They don't know. I think that's cute.
It's cute. It's just very funny because
I also don't know
very
the lyrics
dad,
to "Leaving on a Jet Plane."
There's a Catch-22 did a cover of American Pie where they just sing the chorus over and over again for 3 minutes. It's really good.
Fun. That's really great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like getting drunk with your boys. That's what that vibe is.
Yeah.
That vibe checks and passes.
President montage. It's sunset everywhere in America.
Shit. Everywhere in America. They're so worried. And everything is Americana.
It's day everywhere in the world.
They're going into like, what is it? The storm cellar and shit like that?
All right. So it's a montage and it's suddenly the 20s and 50s and sunset everywhere in America. And then again, it's daytime everywhere in the world, but Japan, I think.
Everyone is attached to a family. All the families have a girl and a boy.
I want to know what it's like to film these sequences. I assume it's second unit.
They are beautiful photography too.
Yeah, I feel like they get like professional like photographers. They just like travel across the country. They find some farmland. It feels like they're shooting a political ad. Like it's the same process, right?
All of these are always like one shot that represents a lot, right? So none of them are scenes. So the beauty about filming something like that is that you can just wait for the right moment, in terms of sun,
right,
to roll, get it once, and it's like, that was magic. That's like, let's just wait for 6:08 p.m. 3 days in a row, and we got like a ton of B-roll of beautiful shit like this.
But then there's also where they're like, we need to go to different parts of the country. Do you think what they like? You would know units, better than me. Like, do you think they just hire a unit in a country and say like, can you get these 3 shots? And then it's almost like stock photography where they send it back.
It's almost like that. Yeah. They might send a DP or, because it depends on how like fast they need to move. Usually units are created because the timeline of the movie is such that production has to end at a certain date. But some movies have enough like wherewithal to essentially be able to be like, and then send the DP over there, but use that crew, so it's just like sending one guy or like a few producers over. So, but yeah, and it can be happening simultaneously or just one after another. But that's typically how it's done. In any case,
America's going to save all you motherfuckers. You're fucking welcome.
And you're welcome for our heroes. And we're about an hour, 8 minutes in, and they finally launch into space. There's 2 shuttles, 2 teams.
Guitar music, electric guitar music over the score. They fire 2 rockets 20 feet within each other,
real close
at the same time.
Close.
And
I would get some distance, buddy.
Yeah,
they're both going to the same place.
I was like, no, I don't think that's how that works.
The other thing about a rocket is that actually it's the most like, it's literally you're screaming into space. You have no control.
Yeah.
You can't drive.
They literally almost hit each other like several times.
It is a rocket is just because, they're like, oh yeah, but you got like, you have basically an engine. No, there's no engine. You are making a chemical reaction
It's a rocket.
that is exploding you on a single vector. That's all a rocket is. So there's no driving. Things get off kilter a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it's fine. This is what we've learned from rockets. They're
side
just
by side.
Put them like a team flying into space. So good.
This is a moment where if those rockets, like there's a non-zero chance those rockets would just hit each other and they just both die.
Or explode.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the moment that would happen, and then China's like, so we could have helped.
You motherfuckers.
We could have fired rockets over here, Like we could have done this with you, and you didn't have to.
The idea.
I mean, fuck. Houston has multiple launch pads. They don't need to put them in the same. They are a football field away from each other when they launch.
And when you get to orbit, the distance between, like, I don't know, Fort Lauderdale, or Cape Canaveral, and like Houston
meet up
are
in
very
space.
close.
You don't have to launch side by side, you freaks.
Anyway, it looked great.
Yeah. Anyway, Russians are weird.
Anyway, they need to fuel up immediately, which actually kind of makes sense because they don't want to fly up with all the fuel.
What doesn't make sense, is Mir is like a haunted house.
Yes, which is not how Mir looks. It looks like every other fucking space shuttle that you've ever seen, but it's Russian, so it's got to look kind of dingy and like it's from the movie Alien.
It's amazing because at this point in the movie, Michael Bay looked at the script and went, "You know what this needs? More character actors." Like more wacky characters. You know what we haven't picked on yet? Russians. Let's get another fucking Coen Brothers actor. Let's stick another Coen Brothers actor. Another Fargo. Let's get another Fargo in here. And do like wacky Russian on Haunted Mir.
He's perfect. Yeah. Peter Stormare, who's crazy, and they introduce him by saying he's been alone for 10 months.
Yeah.
And their arrival to the space station is one of the best. Like, it's a daddy movie because the whole point is that they have to like dock, right? It's a daddy movie when there's just a ton of footage of docking, just tubes
so much
going
docking
into holes, and they start fueling, and of course something goes wrong. Ben Affleck tries to get everyone's.
It's Russia, you see. So Mir was famously a disaster.
It's disastrous.
This station is just pissing fuel on some frayed wires.
Yeah,
it's such a funny setup where it's like, really? That's the
Once
problem.
again, it's like they're just covering. They're covering like carpet across the whole movie the idea of American exceptionalism. That's all it is. That's all this movie is.
And again, cramming as many action sequences where it's like they can't just refuel.
So
they need to have a fucking action spectacular.
And when the thing that's the failsafe, the shutdown lever, it breaks. So Stormare and Affleck get stuck behind like an airlocked section of because the NASA team is cowards.
There's a second here where for some reason, Ben Affleck's at the bottom of this hole and they're all yelling at him. And they're like, you got to get him and climb up. And like all Ben Affleck has to do is start climbing a ladder. And it takes a weird, like a minute of, it's like trying to rescue a cat where it's like, you just have to climb the ladder, Ben. He finally does. And they get left behind.
They get left behind, and because it's like, well, you'll take us all down, which is the NASA, like utilitarianism, which we're fighting,
nerds,
because Harry's like, we don't leave a man behind, and it's like, dude, if there's ever a case where you leave a man behind, I would argue it's the fate of the world, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, everyone lives, and that's that's fine. And in the nick of time, they get saved before the space station explodes.
The shrapnel is fine. No shrapnel hurts the ships. Shrapnel is just like flying by.
It's exploding right next to it, and it just doesn't even get hit. Like the perfect flight. But now we know that NASA has a few cowards, most notably Sharp, the William Fichtner. And they slingshot around the moon. And I love this sequence too, because it's so fast they almost pass out. And it's just like they have like NOS gas in the fuel lines. They're just like, let's kick this shit into the next gear, baby. And they just like slingshot around the moon, which I'm pretty sure that's not how slingshots are. I think you just build up momentum slowly
I don't know. I'm not a space
gravity
nerd like these freaks, but yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it's like you push a button and it gives you turbo. And they find it, and then we see the asteroid for the first time up close and personally, and we hear angelic choirs because it's like staring in the face of God.
Yep.
And Independence, as they're kind of making the descent, gets hit by debris and just fucking crash lands. And again, the pilots get sucked out.
They are like 6 feet from each other for some reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
And they almost collide.
So many sharp things flying. Now we know why CG is the way it is.
Yeah.
Because Michael Bay kind of penned the first few times that we really took it out for a ride.
It's so gratuitous, and it's just, again, like there's supposed to be redundancies, and they're next to each other. That's so stupid.
Just to make the frame look fucking awesome, and it does. And so that particular ship, the Independence, crash lands, but like everyone assumes they're dead, but they actually aren't.
They're underdogs.
While the NASA guys who were like in the cockpit, I guess, they survived. Ben Affleck and the miners and Peter Stormare were actually
all the Poindexters
making their way over to the Armadillo, which is the name of that tank.
Yeah.
That is necessary for the drilling to occur.
Yes. The most necessary being the machine gun on it.
The machine gun on it, which is awesome.
Which he uses at this point, break out of the nerd ship.
We have no contact to that ship. That ship is radio silent, and it just looks like they went down. They probably assume it exploded, end of freedom, and everyone cries. And we do this multiple times in the movie. Anyway, the Freedom lands, which has Fichtner, it has Buscemi, it's got Harry, and the big guy, I think his name is Max. So they assume that Affleck, Owen Wilson, and Michael Clark Duncan are dead. And Owen Wilson actually is dead.
I was going to say they're mostly right. Or they're mostly wrong.
1/3 right. Yeah, Owen Wilson kicks the bucket. He dies in the initial crash landing. And Affleck cries over the top. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the rocks are somehow blocking the radio with Earth because it's mostly like iron. And so they can't talk to Earth at all. So Earth thinks that everyone could be dead. And they're like panicking. And also, even though they landed correctly, they overshot the drill spot by 20 miles in like the whole, because it was such a manic event. So they're now going to have to find a new spot to drill. And the problem is they're on an iron plate, as is explained by Buscemi.
The egghead's fucked up.
The egghead's fucked up.
You need to use your heart to find where to drill on an asteroid.
And guess who's going to have to solve this problem? It's even harder for the miners. The oil drillers are going to have to.
Again, it's bureaucracy.
Through the iron.
Eggheads made a bad decision, and then they're going to blame and punish the working class.
Yeah, and the problem is the drills break real fast, and just things explode randomly when they get pockets of stuff, which honestly, that makes sense. That would be probably true about an asteroid.
Yeah.
And they finally get the radio up, but it's the most confusing aspect of plot.
Yeah, I know. Because I know what they want. They want a ticking clock. They want a situation where they're like, how can we cram more excitement into this? Let's have NASA set off the nuke early, even though they clearly shouldn't do that because they've said numerous times it's not going to work. They have this secondary protocol. But it's because for some reason they don't know if the radio is going to stop working in 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, they try to explain it, but it's really... They can't because the rocks, but they only have 7 minutes because the spin is weirder than they thought, so they're actually going to be hidden from...
But maybe the radio might work. They want to have their cake and eat it too here.
And that's a J.J. Abrams kind of thing, right? And absolutely... They break that later. We're going to explain there's a moment where they say oh, we only have 7 minutes to talk to them. But then they I guess they can talk to him as long as they want much later in the events. Anyway, Affleck shoots his way out of the crash shuttle with the machine gun, which is the coolest way to leave a space shuttle, is to just shoot out a wall. And I also love that they have a convenient writing device for this, which is they're like, where do we go? That's a very important question. They just crashed. And there's just a beep on in the car. They literally do a quest marker for Affleck.
Yes.
And it's just perfect. Meanwhile, Fichtner isn't happy with their progress as they've started drilling, and they're like, you've only gotten like 57 feet or something like that. And so they start fighting. And then the president calls, and the president's like, we're going to go with the backup plan because we don't know if they're alive or dead, which is to remote detonate the nuke.
Fucking pencil neck.
So we see the military kind of take over mission control, which is funny because we already got a scene about everyone agreed that it wouldn't work because of the, the firecracker and the hand analogy, right? I guess that's not true, but I guess at a certain point you're like, well, if the world's going to die, you might as well just try everything, right? I guess I see where they're coming up with it, but it's just very funny that they know it wouldn't work.
I mean, I was thinking like, what if they're wrong? What if it totally would work? But
that's always a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, they're wrong about like 800 other things.
Yeah.
And one of my and then comes in the other exhaustive plot device that they create, which is how the nuke works in this. Because Keith David sets the nuke off, which has to be remote. Again, it should work like the radio.
Right.
They have to remote control the nuke, and the nuke won't go off unless like basically
it's like
Houston says so.
Yeah, it's like,
but that's not how nukes work or any bombs work.
It's like they're trying to get us all killed. They're like, let's make it really convoluted how we can blow up this asteroid.
Also,
why not just put the
6-minute timer?
Right, why not just put the nuke on a timer that will blow up it within a window before the fucking comet hits. You know what I mean? And then just say, all right, it's already on a timer. You just have to take it up there. And that's it.
Yeah, at that point, it's like we're all fucked. So, like, you're going to die in space or you're going to land on a home.
Yeah, you either land, you get this nuke in there, or it explodes. Mm-hmm. And that's But
apparently, that's not how it works. It's this other way it works that does not exist. It's not a way that nukes work. Not in any reality, I think.
Yeah.
But Sharp is like, I knew about this plan when it turns on. And the Roughnecks are like, what? You didn't tell me. You didn't tell us. That's fucked up.
Pencil necks.
You didn't include us. And it's like, and the argument is because you probably try to sabotage it to save your own life. And they're right. Immediately, Steve Buscemi starts to lose his goddamn mind.
All right, I want to talk about this. I need to talk about the line, what are you doing with a gun in space? Because that is one of the, as pointed out by Tom Ryman, that is one of the funniest line deliveries and lines ever. Is just him just going, what are you doing with a gun in space? It's just a funny fucking line. Steve Buscemi gets space dementia. And this is the other funny line. This is
later,
a line.
But yeah.
Well,
it is a line.
It's a line that's so unbelievable. I kept forgetting that it actually is said in the movie and not a joke.
There's a few of those.
He says he's got space dementia, and what he actually has is trauma. Like, it's such a dad idea because what is actually happening is Steve Buscemi is traumatized by his friends dying around him and this fear, and it's too much to handle, and he's experiencing like a traumatic reaction. But since this is a dad movie, you can't have that. Dad can't just be scared. So they have to have space dementia.
It's fucking amazing.
Incredible thing to invent for this.
So I also want to point out a line, but I want to explain it because it's literally coming up. Because at Mission Control, we get a little sabotage by Billy Bob, who's like not happy with the fact that the military is taking over. And he gestures at his guys to like cut the uplink, which is apparently a thing. Like the bomb has to be connected to Earth in order for the timer to work.
Apparently.
So they do that, and then we get an amazing line, which is one of the suits, one of the fucking military guys says, "Sir, the override, it has been overridden."
Yes.
And it's just perfect.
We're getting a real stay the course. I don't know what you people are doing down there, but we got a hole to dig up here. Everybody cheers.
Right, because things come to head with Sharp and Harry.
Right.
Sharp has his gun out and he's like, we're gonna fucking die and I can't let you tinker with the bomb. And Harry beats the shit out of him and then gives a speech. I'll dig this hole, goddammit. And Sharp just believes him.
Me. Yeah, you just have
He's
to
like,
trust me.
Are you going to do it though? And they're like crying. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do it so good. And he's like, by God, let's turn this bomb off with 30 seconds left to go. And now it's just about a scene about defusing a bomb. And it has to be done the old way. There's no like way to turn off the remote uplink or something like that. You have to open that fucker up and start doing shit with wires. This movie is so fucking ridiculous. It's this like stream of consciousness.
Worst made nuke ever.
This movie is like a stream of consciousness action movie. Like it's dudes fighting, then it's a speech, then it's a bomb getting defused in literally 2 minutes of each other.
And Ben Affleck's gonna ramp a fucking rover soon.
Holy shit. I wanted to point out they continue to drill because now everything's kind of copacetic. And Steve Buscemi has the most 1998 glasses ever. Like they are seriously like motherfucking blade.
He's in the
glasses.
Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the fucking Matrix. And Affleck realizes that gravity is lower. So yes, you're right. They traverse a huge canyon by jumping it because they're like,
It's funny. This reminded me of the problem with Marvel today, which is there's like that emotional whiplash. And I forgot that Michael Bay kind of started it. They rocket, they jump the rover and then they accidentally keep going and they're floating into space to die. And Ben Affleck sarcastically goes, this could be a little bit of a problem. And I'm like, you're going to die. And you're making a quip right now. It's that whiplash.
You are ballistic right now.
Yeah. You are going to die in space. You're going to suffocate and die in this rover. And you're like, that just happened. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. This sequence, Michael Clark Duncan has nothing to do. So they just keep cutting to him reacting to stuff. And I was just imagining that shooting day of like, just like, yeah, just keep going. Oh, mama!
And
no!
Screaming and yeah, it's a fantastic day.
Yeah,
and this is all intercut with he does the jump. They're ballistic. I love this impulse. Peter Stormare gets out of the car.
Yeah,
while they're flying in space to bang on the thrusters to make them work again because otherwise they'll fly into space. And that is intercut with Steve Buscemi doing like a Slim Pickens on the warhead, and then they're like, you don't do that, don't like ride the warhead, and then he starts to protest the bomb with a chant because no more nukes, because he's crazy and this movie is crazy. I fucking love it, dude. And then he finds a turret gun and he just starts shooting everything.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, not sure why we and that's have when this gun.
Space Dementia line, and they tie him up like some kidnappers. And there is another. This is a moment I wanted to talk about plot holes because I actually never noticed it, but it's so blaringly obvious. It's not destructive. It's not like a plot hole that I go like I'm mad at this plot hole, but Buscemi fires at everyone, and this presumably causes the team to duct tape into a chair. We see this later in another scene, but there's a scene in between those two scenes where he's just walking around and he points out how awesome it is. And he's like, front row seats to the end of the earth, like just, so it's out of order. Like,
that wasn't the
just
last
found a
straw,
better place
apparently.
for it. But I don't know. That doesn't actually work. You would tie the guy up after he was shooting at everyone.
Immediately.
So, but in any case, I just wanted to say the reason we never notice it is because you're on for the ride. Not only is it a very exciting movie, but it's also if scenes are happening a mile a minute and there's so many things to kind of, all these spinning plates to worry about, you're going to forget details like that. And I think that is something that Michael Bay does actually kind of understand, even though it makes his films immensely stupid.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's effective because we are stupid too. And we don't have time anyway to deal with the fact that he has space dementia and is trying to, kill everyone, because literally a pressure geyser erupts and sends the Freedom's armadillo into space, which Max, the big guy, was on, and now he's dead. So now all is lost because they can't drill anymore. And we get a worldwide montage. And this is another thing. Apparently the radio's back again.
It's amazing how quick the news updates are, where they're like, we just got word that Max, the driller, has died and Steve Buscemi has space dementia.
Yeah, they and like so the world is sad, and we have that montage again, but instead of it being hopeful, it's sad. It's very, very worldwide montage of sadness, and yeah, and then Harry's like, yeah, we're all gonna die. Just then, at the all's lost point, Affleck arrives with a second drill tank, and the world celebrates. Then, so they also said, "Oh, it's gonna be fun." It's like they had 7 minutes, and then they have another 7 minutes, I guess, because it's spinning. But I don't know how this radio works. But they all got that in. They got that. All that stuff happened, I guess, in 7 minutes. Like the president made a speech and he updated. Oh, we're wrong about that. We got a second drill tank. They survived.
Yeah. Well, I love. Oh my God. Sorry. When Ben Affleck shows up, and Liv Tyler thinks he's dead and stuff. Just one of the mission control guys goes, "Your boyfriend's back." To which I said, "Who's that guy?"
Who's that guy? Have you been watching the movie?
Yeah, and it was just very funny because I was just like, that's just some random dude. Like, I know I've seen him in a few shots, but it was really funny where there's so many characters. I wanted Liv Tyler to be like, and you are? And he's so happy. The guy's like, your boyfriend's back. And I'm like, I didn't know you were rooting for this, their love.
Yeah.
I love that he was rooting for their relationship, apparently.
No, he's fucking perfect supporting role. In any case, they start drilling again because they got the tank, and more geysers are happening, and they're like, we got to pull out the drill because the geyser's going to break it. And Affleck's like, no, I got a hunch. You got to trust me,
and
Harry.
He trusts him.
Which he does, even though it's been like 3 cases of fail.
He's never like, proven himself. Yeah.
All right. And so they reach, and he succeeds. They reach their depth of 800 feet. And now they have like 38 minutes to put the bomb down the hole. But of course, there's another problem. There's a blockage in the hole, I guess.
This didn't feel like a problem to me. Like, just cram the thing in the hole, but whatever.
No, I think because you can't just cram a nuclear weapon.
I think you could. I think you could cram it. The hole's huge. But anyway, whatever.
We need to test this. Put this on Mythbusters.
It's fine. Yeah.
Affleck has to go in there and cut a pipe, and of course, that's just when the asteroid starts to go crazy for no reason and exploding everywhere. And Gas Pocket shoots Affleck out of the hole like a gun, and Willis has to catch his tether. In fact, we don't even see him reel him back in because there's a fucking meteor shower that's happening on the asteroid that explodes everything.
Wait.
But luckily, not the bomb or anything that's useful for the bomb going off.
This is when
everything else explodes.
This is when Affleck goes flying. Yeah. It was very funny to me because I'm like, what is the fucking point of a tether if you're just going to leave it in the case? Like, it's just flying out of the tether, and he has to.
Like,
it's
it should be tethered to something.
You're right. Like, did you fucking forget to tether to anything? That's the fucking point of a tether.
Yeah, it should be tied to
They're just
a car
in the case
or something. Yeah. But no, that's not. We don't have time to even figure any of that shit, though, because we immediately jump from that to the bomb is now dead, and
not
the bomb is no
longer. It's just the timer
working.
for some reason.
The timer for some reason is broken, so we need someone to, again, can't explain how convoluted the logic of this movie has been multiple times, and yet again we're gonna get one. We need someone to remotely trigger the bomb from the surface because we can't remotely detonate it from space or from Earth. 2 things that we have proven is possible. So they have to draw straws to see
it's
who stays behind.
It's wild that they're just not like. It's wild that they're like, it's fine. We have replacements. Why would we not have replacements? We're NASA. The whole thing is we have redundancies. And it's like, oh, the timer's running.
Why do we have one bomb?
I got 6 in the back. Yeah, exactly. Why do we only have one fucking bomb? What do the other bombs have to
bombs
do?
For other stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good way. We should bring all the bombs.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a really effective way
or at least
to actually
like 10.
Undo a lot of the damage that the Cold War did. You know?
It's a very stupid movie.
It's a very dumb movie. I love it so
we have
dearly.
The most dad thing, which is a bunch of guys fighting over who gets to heroically kill themselves.
Mm-hmm. And Affleck gets the straw.
Yep. AJ gets the straw. And
And Willis takes him down. He's like, oh, I'll see him, down off the ship. And Willis takes the detonator and shoves him back in the elevator after taking out his oxygen. So he just fucking bullies Affleck and says, it's my detonator now. I'm the guy.
My hot daughter.
I'm the hero now. And he literally says, it's my turn now.
Yeah, it's such a daddy fantasy.
This is where we were laughing. This is where I just started laughing so hard because he's lingering outside of the glass encasement that is this elevator. But he has like 80 things to say.
Yeah.
Like he wants to wrap up all the stuff that they have going on. He's like, it's my turn.
Billy Bob. It's my
turn.
take
care of this little girl. This badge, you need to give that to Billy Bob. Yeah, this is your job now.
Tell my daughter I love her.
I always thought of you like a son, but I also want you to marry my daughter. Fuck my daughter, son.
Yeah, it's
just
a lot.
There's so many things he has to say.
And then he has to say goodbye. Yeah, he still has to make a Zoom call to fucking Liv Tyler to say his goodbyes.
And then the ship tries to take off and it can't because everything's broken and this movie's unhinged.
Yep, and we get the most. Yeah, it still has to be. This all has to be last minute. It all has to be. This is maximum all, excitement.
We have literally 1 minute left and all this shit is happening and something's broken and Peter Stormare does the same thing. He tells the woman who's trying to figure it out with science and like a schematic. He's
the pencil
like,
neck.
Get out of here, woman, who is hot. NASA hot woman.
NASA hot woman.
I am Russian and this is how we solve things. You just bang on it. And of course that works. It's worked twice in this movie. Twice from Peter Stormare. It's awesome. And ridiculous and not how anyone should lead their life. And the engine turns on and they take off and there's literally like 60 seconds left before they get to the zero barrier, which is the point of no return.
Right.
The world will still explode.
And then more shit happens.
And that's not even it. Where's 1 minute
he gets
to the goal
blown.
line.
He gets blown by the fucking asteroid. And I was like, stop, movie.
Michael Bay refuses. He refuses, like a petulant child, to allow anyone to get any sort of peace. Everything needs to be an uphill battle. I love it so much. Gets blasted in the air. He has to climb in a hole. And people are, and there's also pretty funny because Sharp is driving the plane, and at this point there's like literally 20 seconds left, and he's like, I'm gonna turn the car around and go back because something's wrong.
Again, it's stay the course. It's like, no, we trust him.
If you have like 30 seconds left, there's no way you could land the ship and get out there in time and like find the detonator. Like, no way.
No.
So what he's telling to a room full of people is, I'm going to kill us for no reason.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's fucking lovely. But of course, literally the second before he gets to the detonator and he blasts it, he dies, saves
He
Earth.
says, we win Gracie because they couldn't think of they needed I love you daughter, but they also needed a like game over bitch to the comet, So they went with we win Gracie. He sees her wedding, which implies that time is a flat circle, or it implies something. It implies that before we die, we live out a lifetime, and time stops for us.
I think he's in heaven. Is the
could
idea.
be that, but no. See me. The implication is there is nothing after the afterlife, but in that moment, he lives like an eternity of the afterlife.
It's like Braveheart. It's Gladiator. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's all these movies. It's all the dad movies. It's you get a nice little.
Yeah.
As you die, you get a nice little movie that God edited for you. That is like, this is the rest of it.
Yep.
Of the things that matter to you. And I'll stop talking whenever you want to stop me. Basically, is basically what it happens when you die. They apparently the asteroid missed the Earth by 400 miles, which is as close as it gets.
Yeah, great NASA voice says, and most of the small particles have been vaporized. And I was like, most.
Most.
I want to see just France get slammed 3 more times.
Yeah, that's actually like, it feels like that would be pretty true. Like there's going to be, if it's the size of Texas and you blow it up, there's also going to be things that are the sizes of, I don't know, a tiny Texas.
Michael Clark Duncan says, in what it might be the most embarrassing line of the movie, he solemnly says, yo, Harry, "You the man," sadly to himself, and I was like,
1998.
Yeah.
1998.
Holy
baby.
shit, Michael Bay.
You the man.
Liv Tyler hugs Billy Bob, and I was thinking how funny it would be if she just made out with him in this moment. Like if that was the turn,
kissing, and
AJ
Affleck's
returned. She's like, "I
and then
found
Affleck,
a new man. We've given each other vials of our blood."
Oh, I thought it was gonna be a polycule where like then Steve.
Oh yeah, he
an
gets in
Affleck
on it.
kiss, and it's just all three of them because they're all freaks.
Everyone
and then
gets a prize,
and he just takes out a box of animal crackers. That's apparently a part of the sex.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, the world has astronaut fever. They're running around with toys, telling people astronaut stories or whatever.
Yeah.
And salutes and kisses all around.
Everyone gets a prize. Family prize.
Is firing a gun.
Yeah. It's a family prize,
Family
it's sex prize. Literally, Steve Buscemi's random babe is allowed. In NASA has allowed her.
And
I don't
she's
even know how they knew to allow her on. She's like, no, it's fine. I fucked that guy.
Yeah. I don't. And then we get, as you mentioned, we get more Steven Tyler. I don't want to miss a thing over the wedding footage.
We
which
get a
is not
line,
weird at all.
The ultimate dad victory. William Fichtner says, "I am requesting permission to shake the hand of the daughter of the bravest man I ever met."
Oh
which
my
is such a
God.
sweaty line, but it's like,
It's
I'm just
porn.
want to shake
It's
your
dad
daughter's
porn.
hand.
I just want to tell you, he's the best.
It's all framed around daddy.
And
It's
that
walk
means
you down
you
the
are.
aisle stuff, you know? It's
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful Armageddon, baby. Okay. So now we should segue
Into the smoking
to the
room.
smoking room we go, where we're going to point out, of all the things we said, how that jives with our unified field theory of daddydom.
Now,
which is, in this podcast, we've assembled a few tropes that almost all dad movies obey. And
yes,
psychologically what that means.
I do want to know, this isn't a trope, I don't think, but and overall what makes us so daddy, it's the ultimate, what would you do in this scenario?
Yes.
It's the ultimate, let's get a bunch of everymen. It's also the ultimate, that doesn't look so hard movie. Like watching astronauts and going like, yeah, I could do that. I could do it, because that's what it is. It's a bunch of guys who get to save the world without any self-improvement in any way. They just have to be them, and everybody loves them and congratulates them and shakes their hand.
And they saved everyone.
And all they had to do was be themselves and just do the thing they do.
Yep.
But like the first big one I have is, of course, reverence for a higher system. Okay. Sorry. I want to talk about just the fact that it's all, I said at the top, it's all contradictions too. So this is reverence for a higher system, but rejection of authority. And I think we should recognize a lot of these movies will have these contradictions.
It's that vigilante I was talking about, but also I understand why societies are created, and I have evaluated that they are, like, for the most part, good. But I can improve it. I can because
saving the world.
In fact, almost always
NASA.
it's directly from the authority. The people who are in control are undermining the virtuousness of what they do, and we get that a little bit from NASA.
Yeah, NASA, America, we love it, but we're rolling our eyes at the suits, the pencil necks with their drill guides. This ain't no drill guide, your NASA drill guide and your secondary protocols, you eggheads. You know, like that's what it is. It's like stupid egghead president. God bless America, but fuck this guy. It's a lot of that.
And we also get this, there's this interesting kind of paradox that's occurring, I'm noticing, which is that sometimes daddy films are all about a utilitarian code, where it's like being effective or very logical is a superpower that dads can have.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's played up against you, like the selflessness and the sacrifice that daddies make. And like, so there is that feeling of like, they have a whole thing about you don't leave any man behind kind of thing. And it's literally up against, we're doing the most important thing that's ever happened in the world. Right. So you have this evaluation where you're like, what do we do? do we do the thing that is right, or do we do the thing that's like correct, or the thing that's logically most sound? And dad movies love talking about this issue, though they all don't fall in the same like answer, I would say, because like 3:10 to Yuma has a different answer for that, and it's always usually determined by like the flaws of the protagonist. But it's just an interesting thing that I've noted through this podcast, that boy oh boy do we love that conversation that is dads do.
Yeah, this movie is all about sacrifice. It's all about you got to do your job, which we've talked about. There's literally multiple parts where there's literally a part where they're defusing the nuke and Steve Buscemi is saying, do a good job, do a good job. Later, AJ says, you can't do this to me. It's my job. It's your job to sacrifice yourself.
It's interesting psychology when you think about how like that men are also expected to give up like women and children first and stuff like that. I know It's just making me sound like an incel immediately, but like just the idea that there is an expectation about that. Society has placed that upon us. And what is a dad film but not
Yeah, it's not an incel thing because it's perpetuated by toxic masculinity. He swears, and again, it's like you have to do your job. He swears on his daughter that he'll make his depth quota in time. Like it's a guy swearing that he'll do a job correctly. That's the whole movie. Is you got to go up there to do your job. You're a driller. You're good at your job, so you got to do your job even if it kills you.
Even if it kills you.
Yeah.
There's a concept of being underestimated. Obviously, the drillers are everyman main characters. They use guile or their own brand. And this one, they're seen as dummies, but they're also very smart. They're street smart.
A lot of you have only 12 days to train stuff,
Yeah, they can get it done. Obviously, there's big machines in this.
Gadgets. So it's science gadgets and construction. It's what if we had some cool drills on rovers and we do like sick jumps and they also have guns on them for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
There's also this idea of dads sometimes gotta lie or white lies or what's behind that with the Affleck moment where he like saves him,
so it's even bigger than that because we talked about this in Interstellar. I think this is one that we should revisit a lot, is dads lie for the greater good, because America is the daddy of the world in this. And America lies to the entire fucking world to save them. And again, like we said, the world would not appreciate that, even though they come through. And so, there's this idea like in Interstellar where it's like we lie for the greater good. We lie to be good.
And that's kind of a part of another one that we found that I'm kind of starting to see a synthesis on a level up of one of our ideas. We talk about self-sufficiency a lot in past episodes. The implications that we are relying on dad and dads do not necessarily need to rely on others.
They provide.
We've also seen, there's examples of like anti-heroes like 3:10 to Yuma, Unforgiven and stuff like that, where it's like kind of questioning that ideal. But that is a part of like the masculine form, right? Is that you are reliable, where the buck stops kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you see America as a kind of person, that is our self-reliancy is almost to a fault. We exclude the entire world because we feel like we can take care of it.
Yeah.
Because we are the dad of the world.
We're the dad of the world.
And we need to prove it to the world all the time.
Yeah. There's a big dad versus dad stuff. Of course, we've talked, this isn't so much, this is like more of a theme than a lesson. Science dad versus working class dads. Billy Bob is a dad. Bruce Willis is a dad. The dads come together, respect. They learn to expect. AJ learns to become a dad. He doesn't start a daddy, and now, by the end, he's kind of a dad.
Right. It is very true of a lot of dad films that, there's some that it isn't the case, like Master and Commander. But there's this concept of blue collar, because that's about a team and the brotherhood and fraternity, that film, which is a type of dad film. This film is about like dad's role in the world.
Yeah.
And so we get that, like you mentioned, the blue collar versus the elite class kind of conversation. You get that a lot. Like we talked about Wall Street and stuff like that.
Yep.
It is just very interesting that in this case, the elite class is NASA, right?
Yeah. It's very funny. We have a fuck ton of stay the course in this. Bruce Willis is behind schedule, but god damn it, they're gonna let him drill even if it means dooming humanity. He's staying the course, and then later when he's he's left on the comet and they're like, something's wrong, they say, just give him one more minute, just give him another minute. So we don't have a minute. He doesn't know how to fail. You gotta stay the course.
Gotta
go with the plan.
Keep believing on the thing.
Never change the plan.
Plow ahead. Yeah, exactly. Which is why, a lot of us need therapy.
Yep. I have one last one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My last one is Women in Peril, because technically all of them. Right?
Technically all of them are. But that is one that usually
peril.
Technically,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, it does start with the tragedy, and the tragedy is the realization that the world is going to die. So that does actually work, I think, in terms of all dads, even though in dad movies, even though it's not specifically like a woman dies and that's how we start.
Well, I don't know what's up with Liv Tyler's mom, but there's clearly, I don't know.
Yeah. Ben Affleck is like a Harry Potter, apparently. His parents died in a Voldemort accident.
He is like a Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
The only last one I would say is obsession with dicks. Vaginas.
Dicks work. They're dicks work.
We have a lot of families going on, but it's more than that. There's a lot of horniness in this movie, especially by the bachelors. They're going to strip joints.
Yep.
They're getting their fuck on.
Yep.
It's just how
their dicks work. All of their dicks work. Too good. Some of them. Some of them too good. Their dicks get them in trouble.
Sometimes though, they just walk away. They just walk out of the family and are not a good dad, which is really that's the most interesting character in this movie to me. Is the chick is Will Patton's character, because of that whole thing with he clearly was like a gambler and lost all his money and felt shame and ran away from his family, and his kid doesn't even know he exists, right? Because he's seen for the most part as a kind of moral sidekick. Right.
And then you learn he's just an absolute disaster.
Deadbeat.
Yeah.
Right. And almost all dad films would detest his character, right? Or he'd need to do a lot of work and go through a lot of pain and suffering in order to validate his growth.
If you asked Michael Bay about it, he'd be like, yeah, it's his bitch wife's fault. That's the feeling I get from all Michael Bay stuff, which is that.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's some other problems. It's his unique brand of weirdness.
Again, it's the worst instincts of dad films, which is why it was important to watch. And there's a lot of this movie I enjoy, but it's just Michael Bay. He got so these early films, it's hints of it, but then once you get to the Transformers films, it's just this is awful. It
really is on display.
Yeah. And so it's everything ramped up as it ramped up, so that when you watch these movies, it's just louder because you know what it looks like when cranked up to 11, Where it
is something else. It is a classic movie for sure. Yeah. And perhaps I don't know, I wouldn't call this more daddy than, Heat or
no, it's a different type of dad. I just think it's a more insidious type of dad to me. Those movies, it's just, a little less slathered on.
Yep. And it also, a lot of dad films are surprisingly reflective on the flaws of dads. This film, very not so.
No, very not so.
You just kind of have to grunt it out and you'll succeed and save the world.
Yes.
Which is alarming, because that means that I actually had a kind of, I don't know. I was a little depressed by how dad films, I was like, oh man, initially I was like, this is going to get pretty dark because they're going to be pretty bad. But based off the ones that we've chosen, even a lot of them are flawed. Even stuff like The Fugitive or American President has stuff to say about and this is how you get redeemed. You have these inexcusable flaws.
This has no
but like
nuance.
everyone can get redeemed, somewhat. And this one is pretty tough because it just doesn't have a conversation there. There's just no conversation.
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's Michael Bay. It's to be expected.
For sure.
Well, I think that's it.
I think we got
Right?
we scooped out this daddy.
I'm out of ways that I think we scooped out
drilled
all
it.
parts
We drilled
of this
this daddy.
We've used
we
all
drilled it
parts
good.
of the. Oh, we drilled into it. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. I didn't realize that was just there. We could have done this.
We drilled into it. We planted our
movie
bomb.
about a bunch of daddies dicking down an asteroid.
Yeah, that is dicking it hard, blowing it to smithereens with its big dick.
And so I feel like we found out what makes Armageddon dad.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's a little dad in all of us.
Oh yeah, you all got dad in you now.
I think we'll leave you with that.
Yeah.
We'll leave you with that. Enjoy your tiny little dads inside you.
Gross.